Good afternoon everyone, and welcome to this afternoon's webinar on the numbering tool which can be found inside the Advanced PowerPack for Revit 2017. First things first, my name's Simon Dickinson. I'm the BIM Technical Manager for Graitec in the UK. There's my email address. If you've got any questions regarding the PowerPack, feel free to contact me. You can follow me on Twitter, both with our Graitec and my personal Twitter accounts, and also you can join me on LinkedIn there. There's also the link there to our UK blog site. All our technical guys are putting various useful blogs up there, not necessarily just about the PowerPack, but all the other products which we supply as well. Okay, so we're doing a full series of the of PowerPack webinars. Two of them already happened, so the link to Excel and the batch export to DWG. These will shortly be appearing on our Graitec.uk YouTube channel, so have a look on there if you weren't fortunate enough to see them at the time. Today we're going to be doing the renumbering tool, and then on the 18th we've got the watermark manager, which allows us to watermark our families. Very useful feature which hasn't been available in Revit before. There is a product out there, but it's very expensive. And then on the 2nd of December we're going to be looking at the family manager that's built in there as well. So for those of you that may not have heard of the Advanced PowerPack for Autodesk Revit, it's now on its second release with a load more functionality added into it. Basically this toolbar, it's a full toolbar that's added into Revit, and it gives us a whole host of new tools to be able to use. Some of these tools will enhance the way that Revit currently works, so it'll basically automate tools that are in Revit, but it also adds a lot of new functionality which Revit currently doesn't support. So for instance, when it looks to the link to Excel, we can actually bidirectionally link a schedule from Revit to Excel, manipulate the data in Excel, and then re-import that data to manipulate the model or information data within our BIM models backwards as well. Highly recommend you download and install this. It's currently available on the App Store. So if you click on the Exchange apps in the top right hand corner of Revit, search for Graitec, you'll find the latest version of the PowerPack. We do refer to this as the Graitec PowerPack for Revit 2017. That's our release name. It does run and install on both Revit 2017 and 2016, so don't be too worried about that. Okay. Cost of it, currently it's 140 US dollars a year on a subscription rate, but if you actually read the small print, if you're actually a Graitec customer and you actually have your subscription with us, then it's free. So basically, if you currently have your subscription through Graitec or TotalCAD in the States, get in touch with your sales representative and you'll basically be allocated a serial number of serial numbers depending on number of seats that you've got on subscription with us. Okay, so today we're going to look at the numbering tool. Okay, so for those of you that have been using Revit for a while, you'll be aware that when it comes to numbering items in Revit, it's very awkward. And when I say awkward, the only thing that Revit likes to automatically number as you're working is doors and windows. That's pretty much it. Whenever you create anything else, it doesn't want to add the mark or the count information into there. So what the numbering tool does, it will actually let us access any category that we like. So when we launch the tool, it'll launch this interface, and as you can see, there's lots of options on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a bit of a PowerPoint presentation for you, but then I'm going to show you the actual tool actually working within it in a Revit project. So we can choose which category we want to worry about. So we could go to rooms. Yes, rooms number themselves, but we can also, as well as changing maybe the room number, we can actually set which parameter we wish to use as well. So this tool isn't just about renumbering, for instance, the door. We could then start to create a comment in each door based on its location, based on its type of door, and add that information into the comment as well. So it's a very, very powerful tool for creating more than just a number. So we sometimes refer to it as the renaming tool, because we can set a sequence up for renaming items as well within the comments and a few others as well. You'll see how the parameters work as we move on and show you the demo. Once we've decided what it is that we actually want to do, so the category and then the element that we're actually looking at to renumber or rename, we can then set a template for that numbering. So it could be something as simple as numbering a door 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. Or it could be a case of where we want to put text in there. So maybe it's a door and we want all the internal doors to be INT 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. So whenever we set this up, you can see there we've got a preview of the numbering, and we've also got the group setting turned on here as well. So I could actually then group items, so I could group them by area or by room name. So basically when I start to create my numbering, I could say all the furniture in one room could be the room name or the room number followed by its numbering as well. So we can group items, and all of this is automated, so it basically brings in a speed advantage of being able to renumber these elements very, very quickly. When we're in a view as well, we don't just have to rename or renumber the entire project. So we can actually say, is it just the active view? So if I'm just on the ground floor or the first floor, I can actually basically dictate that it's only that level that I actually want to renumber. The system will fully automate the process in which we renumber if we so desire, and we can then set the processing algorithm. So the processing algorithm will tell the software exactly which order to process. So if I was looking at my doors, it would start at the top left of my view, it would move to the top right, then it would move down, across, down, across. So basically processing the doors from the top right, left to the bottom right. This will actually then give me the order in which it processes the numbers. What I can then do is I can also then, rather than letting it automate it, I can actually then start to control this. So I can select by window. I can basically do a selection window, and then only the elements within that window are going to be affected during that renumbering process. Or I could select by path. I can draw a model line through the elements which I want to actually renumber, and it will renumber them. It doesn't like a chain of lines, but if you use the spline tool, you can draw a spline that intersects all the objects you want. It will accept that as one line, and it will renumber everything along that path. Again, it still follows the algorithm, so if I draw a line from right to left, but my algorithm set from left to right and down, it will process the line in that order. So it will follow the algorithm for actually doing that. We can then do pick one by one. So if we're wanting to renumber our doors in a particular order, so we come into our building and we want then all the internal doors to be numbered, starting at the left-hand side and then going around the building, always going anti-clockwise, then we can actually set up our own routine. We can go click, 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 and we can set that up the way that we want. If we're doing an automatic selection, we also have the ability to exclude certain items. So basically we can say omit any items that have already been assigned a value. So obviously doors and windows, they're always going to have an assigned value anyway. But what about things like furniture or ductwork, etc.? It may be that we've already started to manually number certain elements. We basically don't want the system to then override them. So we basically say omit the elements already assigned. Anything that's blank in the mark, it will then get a value. Anything that's got a value will be ignored. We can also exclude by family and type. So for instance, if I was renumbering all my doors, but I only wanted to renumber the internal doors, I could basically tell it to do the doors, but exclude anything that's maybe an external door. So I can go down my list and I can basically move over in the column the elements I want to get excluded. So in this example here, we've got, we're about to renumber all the columns, and basically these particular concrete round columns I don't want to be added into my numbering system. I'm just interested in the rectangular and the universal, the UC columns as well. When it comes to actually how do we manage, if we were renumbering everything and we've already got some numbers in there, we've also got tools in there to be able to control how we deal with duplicates. So as we're going through, it may be that I'm clicking on doors and I'm renumbering them, but I've already got doors somewhere else in my project that have them same numbers. So what I can do is I can actually say allow duplicates, therefore it will let me have 2 door number 1s. I can then double check that in my schedule later on to make sure that I have actually finally rectified it. Plus it will give me a warning message. Actually in the warnings, interestingly enough, I can actually tell Revit to suppress them warnings, so as I'm actually doing it, I'm not getting a little yellow box in the bottom of my Revit model every time I click to tell me that I've got a duplicate number. I can suppress them, it will still register the warnings, I can still go to my warnings dialog box and find them, but at least it's not disturbing whilst I'm working. If we are actually normally found in duplicates, I actually have a drop down that allows me to control how to deal with a duplicate if I'm not allowing duplicates. So we can erase the existing duplicate. So basically it'll just erase that value. It's not the family, it's the value, and it'll set that to 0, to blank, sorry. I can get it to choose the next available number. So if it gets to door number 4 and 4 already exists, it will find the next available number within the sequence and it will utilize that. Or I can actually get it on the drop down, I'll show you this in a second, I can actually get it to swap out that number. So when it gets to door number 4, if that door's already got a value in it, it will rename that one to door number 4, and whatever value is in door number 4 at that point, the duplicated door number 4 will inherit that value. So that works quite well. Okay, so let's have a look and see exactly how this works in practice. So what I've got is, I've already got a Revit file open. So if I come into here, as you can see, it's an office block. It's actually the office where I sit. This exact moment in time, I'm sat round about there on that chair. But we've got some doors in here, and if I select this door, this is door 26, that one's door 28, so the doors have already got a certain amount of numbering on, and door 32 for that one. Got some rain screen doors as well, but what I want to do is I want to now start to renumber these doors. So here we have the Graitec PowerPack. It's an amazing set of tools. As you can see, it's not just about the numbering tools, it's everything from documentation tools, annotation tools. We've got a whole host of reinforcement tools to help increase the productivity when it comes to reinforcement. We've got some modeling tools in here as well. We've got the link to Excel. There's our family manager that we're going to be looking at later on. Okay, and if you find that there's tools on here that you wouldn't use, so for instance, maybe it's a case of you never do any reinforcement, we can either come in and turn off whole sections of tools in here, or if I actually click on the ribbon command, I can come back down to reinforcement and I can actually turn off individual tools in here. So you can see there's various tools that we can then select. So it's completely customizable. It's amazing what you can do with this PowerPack. The first version of the PowerPack was really good. This version surpasses all expectations that I had. The tools in here are really good. This numbering tool is actually one of my favorite tools because it just does exactly what you want it to do. If I go into numbering, let's launch this. I can choose the category. So the most common categories are listed at the top that you might want to look at renumbering or looking at renaming. We then have every category that is available in this project. So basically it looks at the project, it sees which active categories are there. It's not giving me a list of categories I haven't got anything of. So in this particular model there's no ductwork, therefore that's the reason why duct's not listed. It's only listing the categories available to me in this project. So don't worry about it not listing them. If we're in a project that has them, they will be listed. Depending on the category we choose will depend on what information we can actually start looking at naming. So as you can see in here, I've even got the ability to look at doors, and I might want to fill in the Kobe space requirement. So that will allow me to then look at this and look at the door, look at its 2-room, and I could pull the 2-room information. I could start to fill my Kobe information in there. As it is, I'm just going to look at changing its mark. And then I can start to look at how I want to format this. So in here at the moment I've got the preview of numbering. So at the moment it's just going to sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We can change that from numbers. Yeah, so I could actually change the accumulation of the elements. There's as groups. so group A, B, C. If I actually wanted to have these as A, B, C, D, look, I can change that. I can even change the increments. So I can change what the starting character is and what the increment. So if I actually had numeric, I could set that to 001. Yeah, and we can start to look at setting that up, what the increment digits are. It'll increment by 1, and what the increment is as 1 as well. Okay, so I can control, yeah, so there we go, increment digit 2. If I wanted it 3, that'll give me doors 001, 002, etc. I could even then say, well, actually I want to increment that by 10, and then it will keep the 1 from the first one because my starting character is 1, and it'll add 10 to each of the doors as well. So the sequencing and the way that we can work in here is incredibly powerful. I can then start to put text in, and I've got multiple places to put text in, so I can build a really long string up for the actual value. Obviously, because I'm changing the mark and I might be tagging this information later on, I don't really want to be showing too much in the way of data. But I could change that now to int for internal doors. Yeah, I could even choose one of the other bits of information, look, that's actually linked in there. I could even have its family and type put in there as well. And we've got everything. I could even have it's from room actual lighting load. So the amount of information we can generate into here is phenomenal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do int. I'm going to say all from active view. I don't need to exclude anything. I'm up on the first floor. I'm not on the ground floor of this building, so I don't have any external doors. So that's fine. If I wanted to, though, I could go to exclude, manage, and then these are all the doors that are currently in my project. And if I didn't want the external doors, I can move them to the excluded list. So that would mean that if it did find any of them, it wouldn't renumber them with the int command. Vice versa, on the ground floor, I can renumber all my external doors and get all the internal doors into the exclude list. So I can go OK. So as we saw before, the doors were just numbered standard 28, 29. I'm going to choose the settings. I'm going to ignore the rest of this over here for the time being. There's my processing aura, so it's going to start in the top of the building and move down. I don't want to allow duplicates. I just want to erase the existing duplicate. It won't find duplicates because I've not actually done the internal door numbering yet. Click OK. If I now select this door, that is now internal 14. Yeah. So it's basically worked its way through this project, and each of these elements have now been renumbered accordingly. Yeah. So very powerful, very quick. It's taken seconds to actually achieve that. So that's all my doors renumbered on there. If I just go down to the ground floor of this building, I've actually got a load more doors. If I was to select these doors, notice these haven't got the int prefix on the door numbers because I only did them for the current level, so we know that that's actually worked. The big advantage I like, and one thing I really do like about the way the system works, is if I actually click on that desk, currently furniture doesn't have a mark. I may want to assign an asset number to all the furniture within my office. Maybe I'm wanting to generate some code information or information for my FM guys. So what I can then do is I can go back to the PowerPack, back to numbering, and I can change what I actually want to renumber. So in this case, I want to renumber the furniture. And I'm just interested in the desk. And again, we'll just go for mark. And I just need to reassign what I actually want to do. So I'm going to start from 1001. In fact, we'll start at 1000 and we'll increment up by 1. Again, I'm going to go all active view, but I am now going to manage what I want. So the only thing that I'm actually interested in are these office desks. So I can then select all the other elements and move them across. So it's only going to do the office desks. Click OK. OK again. And now that's 1008. Yeah, 1009. If I actually click on the chair doesn't have a mark. Again, it's followed that rule. I may want to number these chairs. So what I could then do is I could go to my, let's look at doing the line. So what I could do is I could basically use my, so what I sometimes do is if I use a spline, okay, so I want to now just enter that. Okay, cancel that. So there we have a spline. You can actually see that it's running on the floor. It's just running under these areas. Back to my PowerPack. Numbering. I want to now do that by path. So again, I'm just going to number the chairs. So I can exclude this, and we'll say that I'm only interested in, let's move them across, I'm just interested in the chairs. I think they're all the chairs I have. So we'll put them back. It's only going to do the chairs, it's not going to do the desks it goes through, and we'll call that CH as a prefix. By path, select the path. There, it's accepted that as a path. Okay. You should have accepted that. Always cool. And then cancel out of that with a bit of luck. Nope, it's ignored my spline. Apologies. Let's just demo that with a straight model line. I'm hoping it's not because my chairs are a different chair. That is a furniture chair desk with armrest. It may have been I've excluded the wrong element. Into numbering. Yeah, that'll be why, look. Furniture chairs. I obviously click cancel instead of OK. So it wouldn't actually, it didn't detect anything. Select the path. There we go. Now I get my OK button that wasn't showing before. Basically, I'd excluded the wrong elements because I hadn't clicked OK. Click that now. And then that will now have renumbered them accordingly. Yeah. So slight error made on my part there. It would have selected it using the spline if I hadn't have excluded the wrong element. Okay, so that's by doing the line. We've got then the window as well. So if I wanted just to do the chairs back on the first floor, here, if I came in and selected this chair, again there's no mark on that chair, so we can then go into my numbering. We'll select by window. We'll do the CH in there. Manage the exclusion. It should have remembered that. By window, select. I can now select all of them elements. It will only select the chairs in that case. And you can actually tell there, it's actually telling me, if I'd have paid more attention, it tells me how many elements it's found. Click OK. And now the chairs have been updated accordingly in there as well. Okay. There's also the ability, as I mentioned, to group. So if we come over to this side of our dialog box, I've got the ability there to the processing order look. So it will actually show me the order in which it starts. Yeah. So left, right, up. So this is actually starting at the bottom, working its way up. I can go left, right, down, come down. It'll show you the order in which it's going to process everything as it finds it. We've also got the ability to use selection order. Yeah, so if I go pick one by one, that's what you want to have on. If you don't tick that box when you go pick one by one, it won't do that. It'll basically take all the picks. When you press enter, it will then process them by the processing order. So it's an important tick box, is that, just to be aware of in there. What we can also do is that if I wanted to now, let's go for my doors again. In fact, we'll do the doors for the entire project. So the doors marked, all project, yeah, I'll just take the prefix out, but we'll start at 1,000. I can then start to group, yeah, so I can group these elements. So I select numbering per parameter, yeah, so we can basically choose one of the other parameters in here. So, you know, there's all the options that you would hope to find, including level. Yeah, so now it will group them by level. So I've got all the ground floor, first floor, etc. It's giving me an example of every time it finds a new entry, what it's going to do. I select numbering per all geometry parameters. Yeah, so again, what this does is this then looks at grouping things by its family and type potentially, or its mark. So what this allows us to do is we can then say, right, for every time you find a different piece of geometry, so i.e. a different door family, renumber that. Yeah, we've got isolate numbering per branch. That's more from the M&E side. So if we've got some ductwork in here and we've got some systems set up, we can get each branch that comes off of a HVAC system to actually be numbered separately as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it at level and group it by that. I'm going to group by the entire project. click OK. If I now select this door is now B1011. If I go down to the ground floor and select a door on the ground floor, that should be A. But it'll let me have an A1001 and a B1001. So again, a very powerful tool for fully automating this idea of renumbering. Go back to my numbering tool. Then just to point out what we've got down here is we've got the ability to, there's the allow our duplicates and the 3 options, so that if you are if you're not allowing duplicates, how it will actually deal with the duplicates, yeah? And then obviously the suppress warnings. If you did have the duplicates, and as I say, even though it suppresses the warnings, these warnings would still appear on your manage tab, so it doesn't delete them. So if there were any warnings, at the moment I have no warnings in this particular project, but if I did, they would be listed in there. The final thing just to show you on our renumbering tool is if I go to numbering in here, we actually then have, I mentioned that choose system, so we can basically renumber the systems, and I mentioned there about having the branch option. There's no ductwork in this project. If I just pop to this particular model here, so this is the air handling systems for a supermarket. If I now go back to my HVAC views, so let's go to, I want to find where my mech levels are. So if we came into here we have our HVAC systems. Okay, currently nothing's numbered, so if I go down to its mark, actually this is because I actually processed this before, apologies, and then saved it, but what we can then do is I can go into my numbering tool and we can say choose the systems, yeah? So basically I can have the systems I'm interested in, so I've got all my supply and return air, so I'm just going to number every single one. Okay, let's get them down. There we go. So I've now got them fully set up. I can then choose how I wish to number it. Call it HVAC. Yeah, all the different numbers for all the different items. Okay, so I'm going all from duct systems, yeah, so pipe systems as well. It allows me to renumber all my air terminal tags, my terminals, etc. So again, depending on which option we set in there, if I go back to mark, that's the one that's in there. I want all my duct systems on the mark. I can now click OK, and that will have renumbered when it makes its way through all of our objects. Okay, very powerful feature to be able to do that. As mentioned before, depending on the object that you select depends on the parameters that are available. So if, for instance, I go back to Quayside House here, if I go to numbering, I want to go to rooms. I'm interested in the room comments, so it might be the comment or its name that I actually want to control. We can actually change different settings. So I could even control the floor finish, etc. in here as well. So there's lots of things that we can set sequencing up to actually enter into here. As I mentioned before, this is one of my favorite tools in our new PowerPack. And again, if you haven't already tried it, please download it. If you're not a Graitec customer, you can get a 5-day trial of this. Highly recommend you have a look at it and have a look at some of the other amazing tools that are in this PowerPack. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope to see you and hear you all again soon. In the meantime, happy playing, and join me next time for one of my other webinars. Thank you very much, guys.